At 26, new player at the club from the Gold Coast Suns, Elijah Hollands, older brother of Ollie. If anyone saw his performance in the VFL Grand Final where he played permanent midfield, would have been super impressed with both his inside and outside game. He's, I think, the class that we're missing. But at the same time, given I suppose what's transpired, and he's only very young at the Gold Coast Suns, and why he didn't play a lot of football there, I still think he's got a heap to prove. But just looking at him at training, looking at that game in the VFL, he can play. He can really play. I just hope that he is the player that can, I suppose, give us that touch of class around the ball on both sides of the body. He reminds me a little bit of Sam Doherty, in that Doherty came to us from Brisbane after only spending 2 years with the Lions, and then took him a little bit of time to find his feet at Princes Park, then became a star for us. And I'm hoping Hollands can be that type of player as well. There is little doubt if he came to our football club at the peak of his powers, Ario Fantasia would be a lot lower than 25 on my ranking. At 28 years of age, he should be at the peak of his power physically and mentally. But there's a huge but. And he has not been able to get on the park for a considerable amount of time, or consistently anyway. I mean, even since 2018, this has been his string of games. 13 for Essendon, 15 for the Bombers, 5 for Essendon before he went to Port Adelaide. Strung together 15 in his first year at the Power, then 1 and 3 over the last 2 seasons. There is no doubt, as I mentioned before, at his very best, he's easily top 15. Potentially top 10 at your football club. In regards to the skill set that he brings, good endurance for a small forward, get up the ground, help out defensively, good skills, big disposal winner for a small forward, clever, consistent goal kicker. But it's a huge but. He's still yet to prove that his body, like a number of our players on our list, it must be said, can handle the rigours of AFL football. I've watched him at pre-season training. He looks okay, but I'm not sold just yet. But I will take the glass half full approach with Ario Fantasia, because at his very best, he's an excellent small forward. At number 24, I've got Jack Silvani, and before his injury, this is where I would have had him. So just because he's had his ACL and he's not going to play this season, I still would have had him around about this mark. The tragedy for Silvani is that 115 games, 26 years of age, he is right in that sweet spot of his career, and probably at the stage mentally and emotionally, like I mentioned before with Ario Fantasia, and he's had his injury concerns as well, Jack, even before the ACL. He had that knee injury last year, which kept him out of the finals. He's probably at that stage in his career where he's ready to produce his most consistent footballer. There's no doubt he's a very, very solid contributor. And I have him just on the fringes of the team. But that doesn't say, in regards to balance and what the club want to do in regards to that, whether he would play consistent senior football or not. But it has proven in the past that, you know, if the balance isn't right, that Jack will go back and play VFL. And he's probably, at times, not in our best 22 or 23. So I think 24 for me is reasonable for Jack Silvani. Understand when he does play, he does bring unbelievable effort, good leadership, and can play a role which is really important for the football team. And obviously, unfortunately, we're not going to see it at all this season, which is really disappointing. Even in an earlier video, late last year, I predicted Brady Kemp to be our big improver this season. I still think there's area of his game that needs to be improved defensively, and that was showed with him being omitted for the prelim final, which was disappointing for him. I think he made really good strides last season as a third tall, but defensively, he was taken to the cleaners a couple of times, which is something that at this stage is holding back him becoming potentially an elite defender of the competition. I think he does some amazing things in regards to his marking ability, intercept wise. He's got good speed, relatively good skills. But if they can find him the right matchup, if he's able to really focus on that defensive side of the game, I think we've got an excellent player on our hands moving forward, Brady Kemp. A real big improver and a big jumper if I'd done this rankings last year. And at number 22, I've got Matthew Cottrell. Can he get any better? He can certainly continue on with being a very solid and consistent AFL footballer. Has he got the skills and I suppose the X factor to be an elite player of the competition? I don't think so, but the particular strengths that he brings to this team are elite. And that's obviously the hard running, the ability to play both a wing role where he just goes from point post to goal post, works really hard defensively, really selfless role for the team, often not involved in the play. And what he showed in the second half of the season where, you know, he didn't play on a wing, he could actually also play that defensive forward role. But not just a defensive forward, he could actually show he could hit the scoreboard. He's always shown that ability to be able to score goals, but he's now looking like, I don't know, it's probably too early to go a permanent fixture because there is now a lot of competitions for spots, but a fucking really important player for our team moving forward, and that's Matthew Cottrell. I've got a feeling this bloke is going to have a really good year, and I think probably he'll have the best year he's had. He's 27 years of age, and his body has at times failed him over the last 2 or 3 seasons. He hasn't been able to get on the park consistently, particularly in regards to pre-season. I'm talking about Mark Pettitt. I have him ranked at 21. We know his limitations. We know that he's not a big ball winner around the ground. He's not going to, take a lot of marks. He's not going to, pick up the ball at ground level and run with it like some of the ruckmen do in the competition. He's not overly mobile and he doesn't jump really high. But given the fact that he's got through this preseason thus far, and it's the first preseason he's been able to do fully fit for quite a while, he did show in that prelim final again, the semi-final against Melbourne, how important he is to our football team, and it allowed Tom De Koning to go forward and be a real headache. I just think he gives us an enormous amount of grunt through the middle of the ground with his strength and his body positioning, his ability to block, his ability to give midfielders first juice because he is a pretty effective ruckman in regards to hit-outs. I don't know, I think this is a year for Mark Pettitt without being a superstar. And what you do find is you don't necessarily need your ruckman to be superstars. They just need to be really effective. How they balance that up with TDK moving forward, I'm not quite sure, but I think that's what they'll run with. So Mark Pettitt at 21.